في 24 من فبراير 2022 بدأ الغزو. القوات الروسية اجتاحت أوكرانيا. بعد أقل من شهرين وفي مدينة بوتشا شمال غربي العاصمة كييف، شاهد العالم هذه المناظر الفظيعة.
Horrible images out of Bucha, Ukraine, sparking more calls.
After we have seen the mass grave of 300 people.
President Biden calls Vladimir Putin a war criminal.
Hundreds of bodies were discovered in the town of Bucha near the capital Kyiv.
The events in Bucha became known throughout the world, but the actions of the Russian occupation forces are not limited to this. And in fact, we record similar crimes in almost every city where Russian so-called liberator soldier, as they call themselves, Russia does not spare its bombs for Ukraine, really with horror.
على مدار عام من الغزو، سجلت السلطات الأوكرانية أكثر من 58 ألف جريمة حرب، كانت أو لا تزال قيد التحقيق. قتل واغتصاب، تهجير قسري وتعذيب، استخدام قنابل عنقودية، واستهداف المدنيين، واتهامات أخرى عديدة تنفي روسيا صحة أي منها.
First of a challenge is great scale of the crimes committed by Russian armed forces. Police is doing 95% of all cases filed against Russian servicemen and their accomplices from local population. And sometimes we have to investigate under the artillery or airstrike fire.
ينن نفسه كان واحداً من ضحايا العمل في بيئة حرب. بعد تحطم طائرة هليكوبتر متجهة إلى منطقة قتال كانت تقله وزير الداخلية الأوكراني في شهر يناير الماضي 2023، ولا تزال كييف تحقق في أسباب تحطم الطائرة. أوكرانيا بدأت التحقيق في جرائم الحرب مبكراً. بعد 3 أشهر على بدء الغزو، صدر أول حكم في هذه القضايا على جندي روسي أقر بتلقي وتنفيذ أمر بقتل مدنيين. لكن كييف تطمح فيما هو أبعد من محاكمة مثل هذا الجندي. روجر فيليبس، محام أمريكي، يعمل حالياً على جرائم حرب أخرى متهمة بها روسيا.
You start with the low-level perpetrator, the individual soldier who happens to be on the ground and who perpetrated a crime, pursuant to orders from his superior, who may be a mid-level perpetrator, pursuant to orders from his superior, who may be on the highest levels of responsibility for the military or civilian command. We saw this in Aleppo in Syria, and now we see this in Mariupol in Ukraine. So Russia has been building its repertoire of war crimes over the last many years, starting in Syria, in Chechnya, and they have a playbook that they operate by. And they seem to have turned the Geneva Conventions upside down. And instead of protecting civilians, they are actually targeting civilians intentionally.
فيليبس سبق له العمل داخل الأمم المتحدة على جرائم الحرب في كمبوديا ورواندا، وحالياً يعمل مديراً للمركز السوري للعدالة والمساءلة، يتعاون مع الهيئات الأممية المختلفة في جرائم الحرب في سوريا.
So what you've seen in Syria is the targeting of hospitals, for example. These so-called double tap attacks where they will target maybe a marketplace and then wait for the first responders to come and assist those individuals and then to bomb that location again in order to create as much civilian destruction and devastation as possible, really with an attempt to terrorize the population. You see the same happening in Ukraine, with Russia targeting hospitals, targeting maternity wards. Another tactic that you see is the siege tactics, So forcing people to stay within a particular area in a city, depriving them of water and of food and of electricity so that they are suffering, and in an attempt to extract some kind of concessions from them. And we know that the Ukrainian authorities are looking directly at these kinds of violations by conducting investigations, creating thousands of cases, and looking at finding who is directly responsible for those violations.
التحقيقات الأوكرانية في جرائم الحرب ليست الوحيدة. المحكمة الجنائية الدولية تحقق في جرائم حرب وجرائم ضد الإنسانية ارتكبت في أوكرانيا. لكن صلاحيات المحكمة الدولية لا تشمل كل هذه الجرائم. هناك جريمة أساسية تريد أوكرانيا محاسبة المسؤولين الروس عليها.
Absent there, you understand, is the crime of aggression. And although the crime of aggression is the very act of starting an aggressive war, the breaking the peace, some would say that that would be a drawback of pursuing the ICC, because you couldn't bring the most serious charges of aggression against perhaps the highest level perpetrators within Russia. Another opportunity would be an ad hoc tribunal. They have a strong international element to them, and so maybe they don't center Ukrainians in the process.
هذا النوع من المحاكم طالبت به أوكرانيا، والاتحاد الأوروبي أعلن في نوفمبر 2022 أنه يعمل على إقامة محكمة خاصة مدعومة من الأمم المتحدة للنظر في الجرائم الروسية في أوكرانيا بما فيها جريمة العدوان. فهل يمكن أن تحاسب روسيا على ما ارتكبته في أوكرانيا؟ وهل من سوابق لذلك؟
We can start from the Nuremberg Tribunal and the justice that was achieved by prosecuting the highest level members of the Nazi regime. There are hundreds of individuals who prosecuted the Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. This is quite a deep bench of individuals compared to, say, a handful that might be prosecuted at the ICC. I think we can learn that no amount of condemnation in the Human Rights Council or at the UN is going to stop what the Russians are doing. Some other measures need to be taken, whether diplomatic or justice measures. Otherwise, these kinds of acts will repeat themselves in the future.